Hey there. Welcome to Lead Fearlessly, Strategies of Confident Women Leaders, the podcast that will empower you to unleash your inner strength and embrace leadership with confidence. I'm your host, Katie Winchenbach, and I'm excited to have you join us as we dive into the experiences of extraordinary women who've shattered glass ceilings and redefined success on their own terms. Get ready to be motivated, challenged, and equipped with the tools and strategies to lead fearlessly in your own life and career. Our guest for today is Hope LeNoir. Hope is an expert career consultant. She is a TEDx speaker, a keynote speaker, an award-winning author, and the founder and owner of Rise and Fly. She has an incredible wealth of experience to share with us today. Hope, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Katie. I'm excited.
To kick it off, I will have you talk us through your journey and how you got to the place that you're at today.
Sure. It's interesting because I have been through several careers, like many of us. Some of us have stayed in a career for a very long time. In doing so, I'm always hungry to learn more about how to be a great leader. So I'm reading books, I'm taking assessments, I'm doing these things, not knowing that other people are watching and they're seeing my drive to be that great leader. So I think that was one of the things that helped me get a tap on the shoulder, is because people were finding that I'm truly interested, not just in a title or advancement and money, though money is great, but that I really genuinely wanted to be a person to help teams and businesses thrive. I wanted to be that leader that influences those types of behaviors in a great way. I also have to say that I never felt that I should show everything that I do. I assume that people will see me. If I do great work, it's going to be fantastic. And that is not true. I had to learn, after reading a bit and watching others, that, I need to tell people what I'm doing and how I'm adding value to the work that they're putting in front of me or the clients that we're actually serving. So I went through a lot of careers. Like I said, I was in New York City. I was in broadcasting. I was on radio stations and communications. I was at energy companies, helping their community part of their business. I was in finance. I was in process engineering, so many things. But all through that, it was a matter of reading and learning from others, whether that's book, audio, or mentors. And I do believe in having mentors, of course. I will say, if I can share with everybody, that over-mentoring is a thing. So you don't need 10 mentors to help you through that process. What you do need are sponsors, and we can talk about that if you like. But making sure that I'm watching and learning and engaging those behaviors that I thought were appropriate for me. But even as an introvert, it was important that I show people what it is that I do, what it is that I'm capable of. Knowing who I am made that easy for me, Katie, right? So really knowing that this is the type of person I am, this is the gift I have and the value that I bring, consistently sharing that with others, not as a bragging tactic, but more as this is how I can help the organization tactic. Really put more eyes on me and more taps on the shoulders and more opportunities in front of me, as well as that sponsor that I was talking about before. I can go on and on, but I will say the bottom line is really knowing who you are, so that way you can share in the most effective way possible of where you want to go.
Hope, that answer was like a gold mine of things for us to dig into in this conversation. So thank you for that introduction. I want to start out and take a piece of that to kind of expand upon and talk about leadership and your strengths. You mentioned, knowing what kind of person you want to be, knowing how you're adding value. How did you develop the leadership style that you have today, and how did you really leverage your strengths in that?
Yeah, I'm glad that this is one of the fantastic questions, because I like to share with people that who you are is the best thing that can happen to you when knowing this is the person that I am. And I don't want to say discovering, because it's there. It's already in you, that meaning, that purpose that you have, and you can take that anywhere. So there's some tips that I often give for knowing that. I don't know how many of us remember or recall that be in the moment, be in the moment, be in the moment. And so for me, initially, I thought it meant, well, I'm supposed to have fun when it's time to have fun. I'm supposed to be happy when it's, and as I reflect more about that, it's actually recognizing what it is that you feel or what's happening to you in that instance. So as you go through your career week, let's say that you're at work or you're in your business, actually taking the time to say, this is how I feel now, or this is what happened to me now at this time, or when I talked about this, or when this topic came up, or when I start doing this particular task. What you'll notice is that there's a consistency in those moments where you feel this type of drive for something in the conversation or in the action that you're actually taking. That's one of the things that happened to me. And I shared that on a TEDx talk that I have, where I was just driven. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to do more. I wanted to contribute more. This was so who I am, not necessarily a passion, but my meaning, what I offer to the organization. And I say not a passion because passion can come and go. I'm excited about one thing today. I may be excited about, but it's more of a drive. For other people, I suggest being honest about the assessments that you're taking. One that I offer are those spiritual tests. And the thing about those and any other assessments we have to be honest, because we like to say, well, I'm a great person, so I'll help with this and I'll give to that. And it's, no, you have to be honest. And the analogy I always give, Katie, is I will not say, I just love to help people. Because what will happen is that somebody will say, well, great. Why don't you cook this meal for this group of people? It's like, oh, no. I don't love cooking and you don't want me to cook. That's not how I want to help. So we have to be very, very conscious and very specific about how we love to help. Where do we love to help in those moments? So taking those assessments, we have to be very truthful with ourselves when taking it. And that's the way to realize, okay, this resonates with me. The response to my assessment here, that resonates with me. That is who I am. Another one that I like to mention, and I do not get commission, and I should. I'm going to reach out to them to say that I should get commission, but one of my favorite books is StrengthsFinder. And the latest is called StrengthsFinder 2.0. It's a red and white book, and it offers an assessment for your top 5 career strengths. I love the book because it reminds us that we don't have to continue to be strong or try to be strong on all 182 other points of weakness, right? We're wasting time when we can build strength in the areas where we are strong in already. So here's the thing. You look at those strengths, you look at those spiritual gifts, maybe even take, a moment to reflect on the drive you had as you were going through the week and realize this is it. This is my meaning. This is what's here with me, and it's been here all along. those are three tips that I could actually give. But for some people or groups, there's a whole week long workshop that I go with them to actually dig deep into that. But for many people, that's it. And I just had to be open to receiving this is who I am. This is my meaning in life, and that it's okay to take that meaning in the corporate environment. And once I know that meaning, it's easier for me to be visible with the value that I bring, to share with others who I am. I'm very clear on who I am and how I can offer that. Whether it's just particularly saying those strengths, I'm great at strategic planning, or I'm great at individualization for your employees. I'm great at whatever that may be. Now you're able to verbalize it in a way that's clear to you and clear to others.
I want to really highlight one thing that you said there that I think is a challenge for everyone, but women especially, which is being honest in taking those assessments. I feel like there's a lot of pressure sometimes that we feel of we should have this strength to be successful, or we should be doing this or should be doing that. And I really do think it's so important when you're doing those assessments, or even when you're trying to figure out what your path is and what your strengths are, to be honest with yourself and not feel like you have to try to fit into a certain mold, but bring what you already have within you. So I love that you highlighted that.
I love that. I love the energy that you brought with that too, because that's absolutely right. I hope that all of us as women know that we have something that no one else has. Whatever your strength or gift may be, it's something that they need in leadership. It's something that the organization needs in order to thrive in a way that they haven't imagined before. It may be different from what you thought, but it's absolutely valuable to you and the organization and their clients, their employees, whatever that particular strength may be. That strength is a value, and you have it.
Thinking about the value that we're bringing, and I love how we're talking about that this is so unique to each person. Let's dig in a little more to communicating that, because I think that's another area where women struggle. You could call it self-promotion, you could call it self-advocacy, but whatever that may be, you touched on it in your initial answer, that it's so important for people to know the value that you're bringing. And how did you build that muscle of communicating your value?
Yeah. So I've always wondered, why is this person always at the table, or why is this person always at this leader's desk or in this leader's office? I get it, because they're constantly sharing their value, and it makes it easier for any leader. When you're constantly sharing your value, if something comes up, they know, oh, Hope's the person, Katie's the person, Sarah's the person, because you're constantly telling them. But there are ways of doing it without being annoying. So for me, I looked for those ways, and I realized it is a mindset for me from, I don't want to be annoying, or I don't want to be a bragger, or I don't want to be that person, to, I do want people to know who I am and the value I bring to the organization, so that they are okay with reaching out to me for that particular thing. They know who to come to. But I also feel good knowing that I'm helping the organization grow because I'm contributing the value that I bring. Otherwise, I'll be at my desk and I'll be doing repetitive tasks, which are okay for some. They enjoy it. But for me, I need to do something different that's less repetitive. So I was reading a book, and one thing that this author talked about was put it in your signature, your email signature. And I thought, Well, that's easy. I can do that. So instead of just saying, this is Hope LeNoir and I work at XYZ company, this is Hope LeNoir, your career mobility expert. Happy to help get your associates in the right place. And then I put my business. Or Hope LeNoir, the professional developer. So those are the things that I started to put in my email signature when I was working for other organizations. So no matter what, when I was sending or responding to an email, they saw this catch line that defined who I am. What I also did was put it inside my conversations. The thing about knowing clearly what your value is, who you are as a person, is that no matter where the conversation goes, you don't have to figure out, well, where I'm going to put the scripted elevator pitch. It's more of, they said something that resonated with me, and here's an opportunity for me to share my story, my value, or an example, or, oh my gosh, I'm interested in that too. This is what I do, and last week I did this. Or another example is, how are you today? If someone asks, we'll say, oh, we're fine, or okay, or I got a headache, or whatever the case. Perhaps it's an opportunity to say, you know what? I am feeling so good because I was able to do XYZ today in the business. Or so those are ways, but make it relatable to who you are, just not, oh, I was able to pick up some beads that were laying on the hall floor. Make sure it relates to who you are. So those are some examples, Katie. Put it in your email. Make it a part of your conversation. Don't be afraid to do that. People will find it interesting, but they'll certainly get to know who you are.
And I will just say for everyone listening, Hope's email signature is spectacular. When we were first communicating and I got an email back from her and I looked through all of the things it said, it was immediately so impressive and such a simple way for anyone she's communicating with to not only see her expertise in the area that they may have reached out about, but I could everything that you'd done. And it was really great. So I actually took that inspiration myself as well.
Awesome. You know what, Katie? So that reminds me too, out of office emails are also great because sometimes we make them very basic, understandable, because we want it short. I'm out of the office. I won't be in the office until 2 weeks from now. I'll respond to your email then. So why not put a little bit of you in the email too, in the out of office? I'll be out of the office for 3 days. Since professional development is so important to me, here's a great quote. I challenge you to send me one back. I'll talk to you when I return in 3 days.
I love that. It's so easy, but really unique.
And they keep seeing it over and over and over, so they know it's reinforcing who you are.
Let's talk a little bit about mentorship and sponsorship. And even I love that you brought up over mentorship. So let's kind of roll it back to the beginning. How has mentorship and sponsorship played a role in your career development?
I think so. Mentorship, I would say, has kept me grounded. Maybe I should say that, especially those moments where I don't know what to do and this is not working out. It's great to have a mentor that says, okay, let's reflect. Let's talk about what to do next. So mentors are great, especially when they've been in the position that you've been in. It also works back and forth too, because I'm a believer that mentorship, you're teaching them as well as they're teaching you. So it is a partnership. Though the mentee should know that they're owning what it is that the mentor is sharing with them. And of course, mentoring is different from coaching. What concerned me years ago is that I heard so much about get great mentors. And we often mistake having a mentor means that I'm going to get the leadership role or the next role, whether it's leadership or not, what I want. Because I have a mentor. and I have 5 mentors, so I'm definitely going to get that role. But that is not true. The mentor is, there to help support you in planning. Especially, like I said, if they've been there before, they can give you some guidance or advice. But it's the sponsor, the person who's at that table of influence, that will actually get you at the table too, or in the room, or that leadership promotion. And I say leadership promotion because we know that leadership is at all levels, and it could be a vertical move and not necessarily a lateral move. But the sponsor is the one that's going to speak your name when you're not in the room or your mentor is not in the room. And it's so important, especially as women, that we know we also need that sponsor. And it's great to have more than one sponsor, because you don't know which is going to be in that particular room that you need them to be in. Having a sponsor means that they're putting their name, their reputation on the line for you. And it's okay to say, well, I need a sponsor. Have it. And don't be afraid, or don't feel like you're not enough to have a sponsor. Look for those sponsorship programs in your organization. Hey, some of us are bold enough to say, Jonathan, you're an awesome leader, and I would love to be a part of your circle. Would you consider being one of my sponsors? I would love to learn from you. However you want to have that conversation or that meetup go, use your emotional intelligence to do that. But why not? Why not? Maybe Jonathan said, oh, I have too many people I'm sponsoring. Fine. Go to someone else. But guess what? Jonathan's not going to forget that you were bold enough to say, I would love for you to be my sponsor as I travel this career journey. But definitely have someone with influence that would be able to make that decision for you as far as where you should be, and be that voice at the table.
The example that you just shared of asking someone to be a sponsor, I think is so valuable, because I feel like a lot of times we get nervous about making that ask. And what if the person says no, or they're not receptive to it? But the way you just phrase that is so open and simple, and also really, I think, shows that the person asking is interested in learning and in growing. And even if it doesn't form into a sponsorship relationship, I think that leaves such a powerful impact on the person that you asked.
And most people are honored that you came up to them and asked them to be your sponsor. Whether the decision is no or yes or no, you came up to me and asked me, so you think highly of me and you believe that I have this type of influence in the organization. No matter what it is, that's going to stay in my mind for a very long time, that this is the person that walked up to me and asked. They're smart enough and very aware to know too that not to ask me to be a mentor. They know how important it is to have a sponsor in this organization, not just a mentor. I do say, Katie, for everybody listening, this is conversation, because I've been in situations where I'm suggesting to organizations that they sponsor someone who they don't know. The risky part for them seemed to be, well, I don't know them. I have to have a relationship with them first, and then I have to be a mentor with them for a while, and then I maybe could be a sponsor. My response back to those leaders were, well, you've had all this time before. What is your fear of sponsoring someone that you don't know? Let's talk about that. And how often is it that you mentor people that are not like you? So is that really going to work on the path that you're going right now, when you're constantly mentoring people that are like you because you're more comfortable, and not taking that risk to support people who are not like you? But also know, as a sponsor, it doesn't mean that you're saying, Katie should be here. So put her in that position and then leave her. That's not how that works. You can find comfort in saying, Katie should be here, and then saying, Katie, listen, I say you should be here. Let me support you in this new role that you've gotten. Let me be your coach. Let me be, so knowing that you're going to be with this person along the way. Mistakes and all. Your name was on the line, but guess what? You're there to say, hey, Katie, no. Don't say that in the meeting because.
I like that you mentioned from the sponsor or mentor's perspective, mentoring and sponsoring someone who doesn't look like you. And I think it's really important to think about that the other way around as well. I think a lot of times as women, women of color tend to look for individuals that look like them in the setting. And I think that's a natural thing for all of us to gravitate towards someone we know that we have in common with. But I think it's also important for everyone to be open to having mentors and sponsors that are different than you and that bring a different perspective to the table.
Absolutely. Because it's likely that, we're not going to see people that are the same gender as us or that looks like us or that are like us. So naturally, we have to be open, to your point, Katie, to touch and build relationships with people who don't look like us, because they're the ones that are already there and they can tell us something that nobody else can. You're right. I think we get, in the mindset of, I have to find somebody that looks like me. That's great because it makes us feel comfortable. This person knows what I'm talking about. They know what I've been through or what I'm going through. So that's the person I need. Understandable. And that's okay. But more often than not, that person is not going to be that person of influence to help you get to the table so that you can support other women like yourself. We can learn from each other, right? We can learn from each other. And this is an opportunity to be open to doing just that.
We can. And I think that's really important to not only have individuals that are sponsoring you, but also recognizing that other individuals that are maybe at the same level as you, you can learn from those folks too, and building those connections. Sometimes people call it that more lateral networking or mentorship is also really important.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, because you don't know where they're going to be tomorrow, and you don't know what you're going to learn from them that you just absolutely did not know.
So Hope, looking back on your journey, on the kind of winding path that got you to where you are today, what was kind of a big risk that you took? I mean, you've published books, you've started a company, you've given TED Talks, all of those are big, significant things. And looking back, kind of what are some of those highlights that it maybe scared you at the time?
I would say maybe not those so much, because those are the points where I realized who I was, what my meaning is in this life. So I felt confident about those. What was interesting is that I always believed that I was a confident woman and I can tackle any challenge. So while in corporate America, I remember reporting to a leader that I could not ever make her happy. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I wasn't enough. And I was frustrated. I couldn't do anything. I was like, I just don't have it right. I'm not supposed to be here. So now I know what that feels like. And I never thought I would be here in these moments. What was wonderful is that was probably one of the first times that I accepted I cannot do this alone. I can't. Because I decided to reach out to someone who used to report to this leader. And I said, hey, I don't belong here. It's not working out for me. I'm just sharing with you because I know you used to be here. And she said, are you here now? And I said, yeah. And she said, no, did you hear what I'm saying? Are you here now? I said, I'm here now, but I don't belong. She said, no, if you're here, you belong here. This is where you belong. And let me talk to you about how to get on this, to align with this leader so that she's happy with the work that you're doing. And I said, okay. And we went to a little room, eyes watering. She's like, okay, you got to lay it out this way. And then you got to say this. And I said, okay, I'm going to give this a try. But I mean, this is not going to work. This is just, I did exactly what she told me to do. And all of a sudden, I was this jewel. I was just so wonderful and exceptional. And I thought, what? But I needed that moment, one, for someone to remind me that I belong there, and two, to be able to see what it is that the leader was looking for so I can give it to her, the leader, in the way that she needed to receive it in order for her to be clear and happy about the work. That was a huge moment in my life, Katie, that I was like, I cannot and should not do these things alone. There are other amazing women that could help me along the way, and I can do the same for them.
That's such an important lesson to learn. I love that you were able to figure that out, and in a way that was so beneficial, and really helped propel your career.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And from then on, considering Propel, it was, it actually did just that. And I got other roles that constantly pushed me upward, upward, upward. It was that moment that really taught me another lesson about how to do that type of work.
If you could, looking back, give one piece of advice to your younger self at the start of your journey, what would that piece of advice be?
I would say, show people who I am. For a long time, I was this, oh, they'll see me doing great work, or they don't need to know me. I was missing out on so much. Had I given people the opportunity to know who I am earlier, things would have been different for me earlier. I would have excelled earlier because people knew what my value, would know what my value is. That would be my advice. Even as an introvert, there are ways, like we talked about, to get started and to do it without thinking that you're not being yourself. But there are ways to show people your value so they know what they're getting. And they're benefiting from it. They're waiting for that. Probably don't know it, but they're waiting for what it is that you bring to the table, and they have no idea where to go. But that would be the advice I would give myself. Allow people to know who I am and the value that I bring early.
And Hope, I know you have a special offer for one of our listeners, so I want to wrap up by giving you a chance to talk a little bit more about that.
I do. I do have an offer. I would love to give your listeners, one of your listeners, a free copy of my book, Workday Catalyst, the audio version, which I think is great because you can listen to it on your way to your office or when you get up in the morning. What it is about 3 sentences for every work day to help you prepare for that day. It gives you a tip, some type of inspiration or reminder about the career journey to help you in every work day. What I think is great about this book that I wrote is, so many times we're looking at so many different places. And I talked about this earlier. I was reading books, I was watching videos, I was doing all these things. What I wanted to do is put all of my findings, all of my journey in one place to help people in their career. something that's not overwhelming, especially for those of us who don't read long novels. It's just a conversational type of tip that I give to you. Not long, 3 sentences. Here you are. This is what's going to help you today. So I'd love to give an audio version to one of your listeners. What they can do, Katie, is actually comment on my LinkedIn or Instagram page. Just say, hey, I heard you on Katie's show, and I'll send the winner a copy of my book, Workday Catalyst, the audio version. I would love to do that.
Hope, thank you so much for joining us.
I appreciate being on your show. This was a great conversation with you. Thank you so much for having me.
You can find links to Hope's Instagram and LinkedIn in the show notes. So don't forget to head over there by March 31st to be entered to win a copy of her audiobook. Thanks for tuning in to Lead Fearlessly, Strategies of Confident Women Leaders. If you've been inspired by today's episode, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with a friend who could use a confidence boost. Remember to subscribe so you won't miss out when we drop our next season. And if you found our conversations valuable, please leave us a 5-star review. Your support helps us continue to amplify the voices of incredible women leaders and inspire more fearless female trailblazers. We'll see you next time.